Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Balls in Your Face Marketing. Today I have with me an excellent digital marketing strategist. He's the co-host of The Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing, and he has a new book out. He's the author of Your Brand Mania, and there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me today Matt Bertram.
I got a new computer and a bright future in sales, yeah, yeah. A bright future in sales, yeah, yeah. Heading for the airport.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks, and thanks for coming on the show. Good to see you. So tell me a bit about this new book you've got.
Well, so really the book is more of a compilation of everything that I've been reading, everything that I've been doing. I tend to work with a lot of micro businesses or small business owners. So really people that trade on their name, lawyer, plastic surgeon, electrician, real estate, anything like that, right? So your name's associated with it. And the thing that I got asked almost every call or over and over and over again is, how do I build my brand online, right? Personal branding is becoming this really big thing. And every single consulting call I did, or when we were onboarding people, that's something they wanted to incorporate. And also it was something for me, it used to be, hey, we got to get you on the first page of Google. Like if you're not on the first page of Google, it doesn't matter, right? So that was kind of the mantra for a number of years. Well, now that is no longer enough, right? So that's no longer enough. You have to take it to the next level, and you have to become the expert or the authority for them to pick you out of all the other people on the first page. And so a lot of people were asking me this and asking me this and asking me this. And I was like, finally, I was like, all right, I'm going to put it all together. And then here's a PDF document. You know what I mean? Here's how to do it. Cause I was saying the same thing over and over again. And so really I just took all the experience I had, put it in a book, and, started kind of giving it to people, and it hit Amazon bestseller. It's doing pretty well. And, I think the reason is if you search for personal branding or how to do it, like a how-to guide, there's nothing really out there. It's a lot of, really light articles, or people are kind of touching on major concepts, or maybe they're talking about branding towards large companies. But there wasn't really how to do it man on the street. And so that's kind of what the emphasis behind it was. So
Right. Well, I mean, I agree that it's certainly very relevant today as we're sort of moving towards this gig economy, that the individual strengths, core services, what you do as an individual. I mean, I highly recommend that anybody, even if they are in a job right now and working for a larger corporation and corporate brand, that they kind of keep one foot in both worlds. One, you just never know where this economy is going and whether you might lose your job. And then there's also just this desire that I think there's this new sort of movement of meaning, this new movement for people to want to kind of reconsider their careers and perhaps find new kind of fulfillment and pursuing the things that they love and that they're passionate about. And of course, obviously that personal branding is a huge piece of that. So what are some of the top tips? I mean, I guess obviously, you said you keep going through the same spiel, but why don't you go through a bit of that spiel and for the audience here?
So, one of the things you hit on really resonates with me, people in corporate jobs, right? You need to brand yourself. And I heard that a lot back in 2010, and everybody was like, you got to buy your domain name. You got to buy your name as the domain name, right? And that was really the big push for me, at least in my world around 2010. And a lot of people were in the corporate world. And in a previous life, I ran a headhunting agency. So I built a headhunting agency from the ground up and sold it really into anything that you can do with a phone and a computer from anywhere. I mean, our team now is 22 something people, but it started with one. It started actually with two. So, if you're trying to make yourself indispensable, right? And also if you leave that job or you move into the gig economy, it's all about your reputation. It's all about your name. And in the new economy and attraction marketing, it's all about you, and people know who you are. So like, if you're a salesperson, right, if you're given a business card, that's a company business card, why not give another card that links to a blog site that tells a little bit more about you, who you are, what you're about, so they see you as more 3D versus 2D. And, you know, people do business with people, right? So
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that, you know, personal branding is in a corporation, how you move up through the ladder is to make yourself indispensable. But if you're running a micro business or, you know, multi-level marketing or whatever it is, it's all about who you are and why they want to work with you on what they're going to get out of it. So you got to kind of share your expertise. I think one of the things that, I read, there's a study out there that says 84% of people view a testimonial as equal to a referral of a personal friend, right? So if we're going to go with that as fact, and we'll say you're promoting something, you know, you want to have testimonials, you want to have reviews. That's why, like on LinkedIn, right, there's all those reviews that you can get, because people are trying to take shortcuts because we're always so busy. And you got to find a way to position the information in a way online that they know who you are, or they can trust. You know, what is it like?
Know, like, and trust is what know, like, and trust you, right? And so you can formulate that or display that in a way online that you can speed up the process to get to maybe doing business with somebody or something like that. And I think that's, you know, really some of the automation and things that the internet gives you is that one-on-one interaction. And, you know, I think that there's just a lot of power in today's world where there wasn't maybe so many years ago to reach so many people, you know? Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. So obviously, I mean, you were mentioning sort of, you know, SEO really at the top of that when you talk about ranking on Google. But obviously, as you mentioned, you know, there's all kinds of platforms.
What is SEO anyway, right? Like what,
Right.
like who knows really what SEO is or what it means, like when you talk to people?
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, the majority, it is this big black box for a lot of people. And well, I mean, I think it's a landscape that is constantly changing. Algorithms are constantly changing. So, you know, for anybody who doesn't know, yeah, the search engine optimization, it is how to rank yourself or rank a page or a video so that it appears on top of a search. And certainly that's, you know, it's funny because, you know, when I take a call with somebody, it really, I'm kind of, to me, there is no like, this is the thought, you have to be doing SEO above all else, or you should be on Facebook above all else, or you should be on LinkedIn above all else. Like, to me, there's no rules really. Like I know or, you know, email marketing, whatever. I mean, I know somebody who is thriving with any one of those things. And it really kind of depends, as far as I'm concerned, on, you know, your personal preferences, where you like to spend time as well. There's different tips and tricks, but what are some of the, like, so what's your sort of take, or what's your preference in terms of putting yourself out front when we talk about all these sort of new strategies and technologies and platforms?
Yeah, you know, and I think you really hit on it. It's different for every person and what they're comfortable with, and them being genuine on who they are and what platforms they're on and what they're comfortable with, how they do business, who they are, right? All those things have to be taken in consideration. And SEO, or, you know, just let's say SEO, because there's so many different definitions, is getting ranked on Google. Let's just put it in that like little box, if you will. There's so many different tools out there, right? Like, I mean, micro blogging, Twitter, all the way down to Twitter, you know, some people are really good at that, right? You know, other people know how to run Facebook ads. Other people are more comfortable on the radio versus TV. Like, you know what I mean? So you have a set of skill sets and preferences that you're comfortable with, and you really got to figure out a customized plan that works for you. But the name of the game is just positioning, right? Like, it's how are you positioning yourself to your audience, right? And really, this whole book, I don't know how many times, I actually got to search for it, how many times I mentioned SEO, but I tried not to mention it very often because I didn't want to write a real technical book on like how to do SEO. But this book is basically SEO, email marketing, Google AdWords, like all that in a lay person's like format, right? So they understand what it is and how to utilize all these different tools. And at the end of this book, you have a really good foundation of what you do. You've seen some examples, and you can see how to maybe apply it to what you're trying to achieve. And it's all about what your goals are, your KPIs, your key performance indicators of what you're going after. And there's a different tool for everything, right? So it's really about, you know, where you're trying to go and how you're going to get there. And here's all the different ways to do that. There's different roads to the top of the mountain kind of thing. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So let's, you know, for argument's sake, let's say take like lead generation. Do you have preferences? Like, would you say, like, you know, you're going to get more quality leads, as you said, like, let's say, you know, you figured out what your personal branding statement is, and so you're consistent with that. You know, do you have a preference in terms of, well, you know, Instagram stories is killing it for me right now, or Facebook advertising, or LinkedIn, like, you know, the quality of LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. I mean, we can go on and on and on, but what are some of your preferred tactics, or what's working best for you?
Okay. Yeah. So I'll kind of preface it with how I look at like a bigger picture about things, right? So, and I think that this is important for a lot of people out there. You know, do I use Google AdWords or do I use Facebook ads, right? Like, that's like a big question. So Google AdWords is about demand harvesting, right? If there's already demand out there, you're harvesting that demand. That's somebody that's yelling peanuts at the baseball game, like you're selling something, hey. Or if you have a really good offer, right? You're trying to get somebody to download a downloadable or something like that. You want to offer something free. You're just kind of putting it out there and you're screaming, you know, kind of like Twitter to a certain degree, right? Facebook is about positioning, right? And in the book, I talk about running actually 3 different Facebook ads, right? So you want to give something away of value. You want to position something or position yourself in a certain way. And then you want to sell something finally later, right? And you want to hit them with multiple touch points. So I look at Facebook as more branding. I look at Google AdWords as more direct response marketing, get them to take action. I think that, you know, based on your demographic, different social media platforms are more advantageous. I mean, I do believe that social media in general is going to replace mainstream news, the Fox News, the CBS, what have you. So I think it's super important. The evolution has gone from, you know, maybe emails and SEO to more social. And like, people are using Facebook to do searches and find out what people are thinking. You know, I think that it's all about how can you build authority and credibility to your audience, right? And we're in this new kind of gig economy that you said, and it's the freemium model and the reciprocity. So you got to be giving stuff away. And so you got to figure out where your target market is and then give it away. You know what I mean? Give something of value away, actually give your best stuff away. You know, a lot of the people out there that I follow would say that, right? Give your best stuff away. And it's absolutely true. You know, give your best stuff away, give something away that you would charge for or someone would pay for. I think it's like a really good kind of tip. But how are you an expert? You're an expert when you teach, right? And so if you can get yourself in front of an audience to talk, if you can, you know, do some kind of training or something like that where you're positioning yourself as an authority, I think that that's what people are going to be attracted to. Is people are looking for people that have done something before and they want that person to help them do what they did, because there's some kind of synergy. And so it doesn't matter what you do or where you're at. You know, there's people that want to learn that, you know what I mean? And so you got to go find those people and position yourself as a teacher and an expert. And then people will come to you because they want to learn how to do it. I mean, 90% of all searches on Google are informational searches. People are trying to discover information. And so I think you got to look at the overall strategy or philosophy and then figure out all these different things as tactics on what you're going to use to achieve that goal, you know, in something that you feel comfortable in and you're communicating in a genuine way. So I know that that's not like a direct answer.
No, it's perfectly legit, because I mean, I would give a lot of similar answers to that question myself. One is that, exactly that. I don't advocate putting all your eggs in one basket. I wouldn't just say, oh, spend all your energy just on Facebook or just on Google AdWords or whatever. One, because, these platforms do, as I was saying earlier, they change, algorithms change, policies change. So go ahead.
So one of the things that is working really well for us, right? So let me kind of put that together. So the silver bullet of Google AdWords or Facebook ads or whatever is not working as effective as it was. The market's getting a little more crowded, right? So we've started to build like a sales funnel for clients where we're running Google AdWords to get people in. We're doing, maybe Facebook ads. It just depends what they're trying to achieve or what the offer is. And then really, Facebook ads and Google display remarketing on the back end, creating a custom audience, hitting them to a landing page or some kind of offer or website, and then hitting them with email marketing on the back end. So for us, what's working for clients is kind of this, 365-degree approach or 360-degree approach to marketing where, if people were coming in going, hey, I want Facebook ads, we would take a step back and go, hey, let's figure out exactly what you're looking for and the best way to go about that. But if, you think one thing's going to be the silver bullet and get you there, and you're starting to optimize and A/B test, and, a lot of times you might need a 1-2 punch. You know what I mean? Like you might need a 1-2 punch. And so really, I don't like to limit myself of like one tool, but use them all in concert because you get this multiplier effect. And so that's a real direct answer, I guess, of what we're doing that's working is Facebook ads, AdWords to landing page with some squeeze page, some kind of convertible offer, and then hitting them with remarketing and email drips on the back end. That's working really well right now for us. So.
Yeah, no, and then I've seen a lot of consistency with that sort of model. Again, ultimately, you're right. Again, same thing. Like everybody needs a sales funnel. I agree as well with the sort of multi-pronged approach. I tend to personally advocate more for investing in search engine optimization versus the Google AdWords. I feel like that's a better sort of a long-term investment, right? You're just constantly paying for those AdWords. Plus, everybody a lot of people have a tendency to just kind of scroll past whatever the ads are to go for whatever ranks up front. The other thing I would say is that I often sort of sometimes, when people ask me about this, I comparing, let's say, Facebook advertising to Google placement or ranking on Google, is sort of the difference between renting and buying, right? And right. So in a way, like Google is sort of like owning, you're owning that real estate. Or in some ways, I kind of reverse, and that's the only problem, is that analogy isn't always perfect. It kind of works in both ways, right? In the sense that, like Facebook, you are building your audience. And there's targeting that you can do, like there's all kinds of sort of psychometric data that you can use to really go after the avatar of your of the audience that you're going after.
Yeah.
And then certainly, when you talk about sort of giving stuff away again and offering value and free value, that's certainly where I find LinkedIn is a very sort of a great platform and has become this amazing platform for that. Anybody who I dissuade anybody right now from just coming out and just like flat out advertising and selling your product on LinkedIn. It's really more of a growth platform, as one guest sort of put it. You kind of use the analogy of LinkedIn as being sort of the office water cooler for the world, right? Like you're sitting around and you're talking to each other.
I like that.
You're not, it's, and I get it all the time. Like I still, these days, I get daily connection requests, and sure enough, there's a proportion of them that as soon as I've accepted their connection, they hit me up with an offer and they tell me what.
Yeah.
Like, how do you respond to a telemarketer? It's the same thing. That's, you don't like it.
Well, so, I do agree with that in all fronts, and I'll play like devil's advocate just a little bit. Not that I don't agree with you, but I have people, if they're selling something that I want or I need and the timing's right, Like I'll respond back. Like, it's annoying in general, but I still look at all those messages of what people are asking. And if they really do a good job with their ad copy, and also it's something that I need right now, which that's a needle in a haystack. It's like 3% of all people that you contact are like ready to buy. I have engaged people that have done that, but there's a fine line between like spam and, all the automation that's out there, and like having it be genuine. And that's one of the big trends of 2018 is, okay, if you're going to use automation, like, how do you really personalize it? Right. And now there's tools out there that help do that. And if you're in the market, what's going on. But if you're not on, LinkedIn that often, or on these different platforms, it's really personable,
Yeah.
And so you gotta kind of balance that. I used for a long time automation that was wishing people happy birthday on Facebook, because like I just couldn't keep up with it, and it like rotated. It was like 3 different like happy birthdays, and every time I logged in, it would like say everybody happy birthday. And I mean, I felt really good about it because I wanted to do it. I just didn't have the time, And so I think there's a balance and there's a genuineness, and you got to kind of figure it out. One of the things you actually hit on earlier, though, that I want to walk back and kind of address is, we are a SEO company. So we do everything. We're actually a full service agency, but we've been building websites for a long time. We do a ton of SEO, and I do believe SEO is the core marketing spin that you want to have, right? It's kind of like if you're selling something and you're not on Amazon, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, so that's where the most traffic is. They got so much of the market. Amazon's got so much of the sales market. If you're not on those 2 platforms, you're eating scraps, to a certain degree. I mean, it just is the world we live in.
Oh, absolutely.
So I mean, some of the data is old out there, and I don't know if the numbers have gotten higher. We've had some debates here internally on mobile with all the ads on the first page on mobile. Like, is the click-through rate higher, or do people still skip it? The old data said about 80% of people just skip the ads. And so, that's where the majority of the traffic is. And people feel like you've earned it if you're at the top of the organic traffic. I do believe that's still the case. And the numbers that I see, right, of when we put in, 3-6 months or more of SEO on a client, the return on investment is so much greater, is X multiple of maybe what AdWords is. AdWords, you got to really do the math to make sure what you're selling and what you're spending, like you kind of have some arbitrage.
Yeah.
Same thing with anything. And so, I agree with you wholeheartedly that SEO should be the core of your strategy. And like, a website, a good website that's highly convertible and that you put some thought into are your digital assets, right? Your digital asset, your digital marketing, and then anything else are kind of bells and whistles that you add onto that. There are situations, if you're running a certain campaign or a special or some kind of offer, that it might make sense to pay to skip the line to, get at the front of Google, where you don't want to do all that work. But again, it's just a tool, and you got to figure out in your overall marketing strategy what makes the most sense. So
yeah, no. I mean, I'm very aligned in terms of the strategy that we deploy. When we offer SEO, roughly same thing actually. And it, obviously, as you know from experience, right? It depends on the product or service and the market that you're going after. But same thing, for a page ranking. We're very good. We're very quick with video, mind you. We can almost do that kind of overnight. And that's just really through leveraging live events, right? Because the fact that Google.
Well, you said Instagram stories, like in the Facebook algorithm for Facebook Live. When Facebook Live hit, all you had to do is go live, and you're on the front of everybody's feed,
Yeah.
And Instagram stories the same way right now. So it's pretty awesome.
Exactly. But the long term, exactly as you said, like, so there's sort of an upfront, it is expensive upfront because of all the sort of work that we have to do in order to, get all those keywords ranked and so on. And it takes time. Like I said, same thing for us, roughly about 6 months or so, before you start to see your page show up. But then the maintenance of it over long term is very affordable. And I agree wholeheartedly that, you know, like you have, like, it's funny how often you will speak to a new business and they have this impression. They're like, well, you know, we just need to create this amazing website and explain how great our product or service is, and it will sell itself. And it's like, no, you don't exist. You don't exist without some form of marketing, advertising. That's great. However wonderful, I'm sure your product's amazing, but you can't, it's not, you know, no one's going to find you otherwise. So, you know, again, this stuff is very important for sure.
Well, when I talk to clients on like, okay, you're running your business and you want to start using the internet to generate leads, not be like a you know, just a shingle up or a brochure online kind of thing. And you really want to move into the online space of generating business that way. And a lot of people we work with are like, hey, I get all my business from referrals. And then I heard from somebody that we just brought on as a new client, same thing. I get 70% of my business from one guy that refers me the business. I mean, that's scary, right? And so he's like, I really need to get into this. And I said, hey, before we get started, I just want you to know it's going to take at least 10 grand to get you into the game. You know what I mean? Like if you're competing on a commercial level, this was a lawyer. So if you're going to compete on a commercial level, it's going to take at least 10 grand. And that's just to get you going. You know what I mean? And a lot of people think they're going to be, you know, that overnight success online. And it's like, you know, it's just like, were you an overnight success when you launched your business? I know a lot of these startups are like, what is it? Like overnight success, 30 years in the making, you know, or whatever, you know? So there's a lot of foundational work that you have to do, and you have to educate them on what's going to happen. And if you look in Google Analytics on most websites, it's 7 or 8 times that someone has to come back to your website before they do anything, right? Or that's what I'm seeing in a lot of our clients' data is multiple times, multiple channels, right, in Google Analytics of what's going on. So if you're not on the first page or you're paying for that one click, you know, people don't buy till the 8th time on average or something like that, right? It's like
absolutely. No, I mean, it's sort of the same thing on Facebook. Like, I mean, it's people are making their returns their return on ad spend on the retargeting. You know, sometimes they're taking a loss, especially in e-commerce. I know, you know, tons of businesses, they take a loss on their top of funnel ads, but it's on the retargeting where they actually are just making a killing. And it's because they invested in that top of funnel exposure that, again, as you're saying, it's just that familiarity, building up the brand. And this is where, again, I think also, you know, people sometimes get a little hung up, I find these days now, because of the fact that we have all of these metrics, and it's like, you know, what is my ROAS? Like what, you know, what's my click-through rate? What's these? And they just get so hung up on the stats, and they kind of forget about the intangibles of building a brand and brand recognition. And you know what I mean? Like that's where the sort of old principles of marketing and advertising haven't changed.
Yeah, I don't think really anything's changed. I read recently, David Ogilvy's book, and I was looking at the ads, you know what I mean, and the ad copy, and like it. I mean, it was just like, I'm going to use some of these campaigns. Like, I mean, so there's nothing new kind of under the sun. It's just kind of changed the platform in which these things happen, right? And I just think that Google also recognizes user experience, and it recognizes brands, right? And that's why, you know, it's something called brand lift if you look into it. But Google loves brands and loves the testimonials and reviews, because it can use the algorithm to say, well, the more people that raise their hand, you know, like links and everything else, are going that vote for this website or this person, I can have more faith in what I'm showing to offer that good user experience. And so social's playing into that really big. I mean, you saw that Bing and Microsoft, well, Bing is Microsoft, but what is it? LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, or Microsoft bought LinkedIn, but you're going to start seeing in Bing, and you're kind of seeing it with Twitter, I think a little bit, is people that when you search on Google or Bing, you're going to start seeing people that have liked it or you know, said some kind of comment in the reviews in the search, because again, you know, people want to know what other people that they know are thinking or saying or doing.
Sure.
It's keeping up with the Joneses to a certain degree, if you stretch that analogy.
You know, it explains the success of websites like Yelp, right? I mean, that's what it's all based on is user reviews. So absolutely. So there's some alignment. There's lots of alignment here in terms of what we do, what we offer, what we, you know, and philosophies and approaches. And in addition to that, you know, so I've got a show called Balls in Your Face Marketing here, and you think about punch in your face marketing. So tell us a bit about your, you know, the philosophy behind that.
No, and I'm really thank you for having me on the show. I felt like when I was watching some of your episodes, there was totally a lot of alignment of like how we do things, and so punch in the face marketing started 9 years ago when we started our podcast. And we were just trying to get people's attention, right? You know, like you get clocked in the face, you're like, whoa, you know, what's going on? And a lot of us here are pretty blunt with, you know, what's wrong. I can tell you, I had a client that's up in New York, couple different practices in the beauty space, call us, and she was like, basically, hey, I know who you are, but I'm calling all these other agencies. Like, so I know she had like some of the top agencies, and I'm like, okay. And basically, like, you know, I told her immediately that her website sucked. Like, and I said that. I was just like, look, honestly, like your biggest problem is your website just really sucks, and you need a new website before we can do anything, you know? And, you know, I went through the rest of the spiel. We talked for like 30 minutes or whatever. And then she calls me back, and she goes into like our next step in our process. And she was like, look, the reason I called you back is you know, I thought my website sucked too, you know? And she was like, so I'm saying the things that other people, like you're saying the things that other people are thinking, but are not saying, and you can cut through the fluff and really get into it. And so the punch in your face marketing is, you know, just kind of something that we came up with, the kind of interruption marketing. Remember when interruption marketing was big? It was kind of punch in the face. Now we've come up with we have like t-shirts now and swag and all this kind of stuff. But like, I don't know if you have Buc-ee's where you're at, but the gas station. But basically, we have a little mascot that's a platypus. And if you look up platypuses, they're actually pretty cool animals, and they do some different things. They're totally weird. And with boxing gloves on. And you know, we're eWebResults, so we're like eWebbers, so something that had a web. So we kind of tied it in and then put the boxing gloves on. So it's like punch in your face marketing. So now we haven't really branded it or promoted it, but we're planning on it. And you know, I like like, just tell me how it is. Like, don't sugarcoat it. Like, I need the real feedback to make decisions to change. And every minute is costing me money. You know, there's the lost opportunity value, cost, or whatever, the lost opportunity value cost. I'm not saying that right, but you know what I mean, right?
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'm sort of a broken record on this show about this, but I keep saying time and time again, we have entered into an economy of authenticity. People are sick and tired of the perfectly polished, curated advertising. They're quite comfortable, you know, with a poorly produced video that you shot with your iPhone, as long as you're giving the real goods, as long as you're being honest, straight up with people. That's, you know, people are quite willing to look past production value. You know, in a way that maybe they weren't, you know, and maybe that meant, you know, it meant, you know, a very nicely done ad, you know, portrayed some level of success or something that people maybe were gravitated to. But I don't think anymore. And it goes back to, you know, what you kind of said off the top about people buying from people, not businesses, people that they know, like, and trust. And so exactly that, and, you know, the example that I use frequently is you know, the sort of younger generation being more likely to, you know, drink a microbrewery craft beer and a corporate brand beer. And it's the reason being is twofold. One is that the mission of that corporation doesn't speak to the individual anymore, because we know for sure that the core mission of that corporation is to raise the value of its stock, not the beer itself, not the product itself or the service itself. And then two, you know, it's that they might have had an opportunity to see a video or something of the brewmaster himself conveying his passion behind it, and it speaks to the individual. So you know, I absolutely, I think, you know, being honest and straight up with people is that certainly is the was the sort of mandate of the show, was, you know, just give stuff and give the information in an honest, straight up way, hopefully have a few laughs along the way, you know, and you know, managed to pull that off a few times, you know.
No, I love it. Love what you're doing. So it's
great, man.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Any final tips, tricks, or secrets of internet marketing, since that's the name of your show?
I can just tell you that the world is rapidly changing, and things that used to work even earlier this year are continuing to evolve. The internet's continuing to evolve, and you know, you really want to have a positive perspective on things and not think that you're too late to get into it. But you got to know, you got to have a good foundation first and understand like where everything's going. And if you get in front of where everything's going, right, you can really ride the tide up. And so I think that certain tactics, marketers like figure it out and like ruin it, right? And so you got to continue to evolve. I think really the reason that we started the podcast was to stay on top of, to force us to stay on top of everything that's happening. Like we recently did a podcast where we got a beacon in the mail and we were like, what is this? And then we got a couple clients call us and go like, what is a beacon? And we were like, yeah, we don't really know. And so then we did a podcast and did all this research and then a podcast, and we were so open about it. We were like, look, we haven't used this thing, but like, this is how you do it. And like, you know, and we helped a couple of clients set it up. And that was just, I mean, now you can track goals. So like I got a car dealership right now, and they're actually in Kentucky. And I'm like, look, we're going to set up this beacon in your showroom, and we're going to make a goal conversion of this marketing when someone walks into the showroom. I mean, like I've never done that before. I don't know, you know, there's probably one or two agencies that's done it, but I mean, this window's like in the last month and a half. And, you know, so I think that there's so many amazing things that are happening. And if you understand where the market's going, you can kind of get in front of some stuff, right? So we're launching like a Facebook bot, because we're really seeing engagement, and, you know, so we're always trying to kind of stay on top of what's current. I'll give you a quick, like real world, like executable example. Remember when Google My Business added that you could add videos and little blogs?
Yeah.
I mean, that was like recent. And if you just add those little micro blogs and a video to your Google My Business, and that doesn't have to be anything super technical, you know, if you're doing that and other people aren't, you're going to stay ahead of them in the race, and you can outrank them, you know? And so we give all kinds of little tips and tricks away on our podcast. I mean, we're syndicated out there. It's called like you said, the Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing, or eWebResults podcast. You can find it. And yeah, you can check out, we have over 400 episodes, and we get pretty technical. So we're on some aggregated lists as, you know, one of the best SEO podcasts, and we're the #1 in the advanced section. So I try to not go into as much detail when I'm talking, because I can definitely overwhelm people. And so that's something I want to make sure I'm cognizant of. And this was a really testament to me to really put everything in terms that are easily understandable and easy bites that people can absorb, and actionable steps that people can take away and execute. So
yeah. No, that's a lot of great tips and advice, and a lot of stuff that I agree with wholeheartedly. And like you said, it's something that I often say on the show is, marketers are frequently sort of the canary in the coal mine. So you're right. You know, staying on top of stuff, and you're right. I think I agree with you as well that you know, don't feel as if you that you know, you're coming in too late. You can catch up relatively quickly, and I think you even are touching on a point that I often say too, which is that, none of us, no one individual, no one marketer can be on top of everything that's going on and be an expert in everything that's going on. There's just too much. There are too many options out there. And exactly, as you diversify, you play with the thing that's great for you. I think it's a good tip.
So what, just one thing I want to add to that is one of the things that, I really take, I guess, pride in is we drink our own Kool-Aid. Okay. So anything that we offer to a client, we've done it and had success with it. And that's why we're offering it as a service. Talk about e-commerce. We have our own e-commerce business. We're doing about 70,000 a month. I can speak on e-commerce, on what works, abandoned carts, what it needs to look like. We're doing heat map testing, so everything that I talk about or share is something that I've seen success with and results with. And, I really think getting to see what other clients are doing and different things in different industries, I'm always learning too, and trying to incorporate that against the best practices that I have and we have here as a team to take everything to the next level. And, just being that constant student and continuing to learn is, I think, the number one tip you could give to anybody. Invest in yourself,
Absolutely. Yeah. Good stuff, man. There's a lot of great advice and great tips that you've given out here. And I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I've got big